Hey, what's up?
What the hell are we talking about today?
Oh my, yeah. The world. That's me.
Oh God.
Yeah, you gotta do that one. Yeah.
We blew our proverbial
We blew our load off camera,
off camera.
ranting and raving, but also praising certain things. When we want to talk about pop culture,
I don't know.
politics, world's falling apart, July 4th happened, and all that shit happened.
You know what I did? July 1st and July 4th.
Yeah,
I didn't.
nothing.
I didn't do it. No, I didn't. And I didn't watch the news. I didn't read any stories because it's like,
man.
yeah, because I knew
Smart
I'm like,
man.
I need to take this weekend, and I don't want to hear the BS from everybody about everything.
Yeah, smart man.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's what I did
was,
on.
I was just like, just crazy bullshit. Like, well, I mean, shouldn't say crazy. It's crazy bullshit. It is. It's just
I
fuck.
shouldn't say crazy. It's crazy. It is.
It's
Crazy.
just crazy. Like, I just, man, like, yeah, I've had social media off my phone pretty much since the beginning of the pandemic because I was just done.
Yeah.
Like mentally,
Yeah.
I wanted to smash my head against the wall because it was just like it was blowing my brains. And now all I'm doing is paying attention to news feeds, and I get the algorithms. Like I get like if you look at bad shit enough, it's gonna feed you nothing but bad shit. Like I get all that, right? So I'm pretty wish-washy on what I click. Like I'm pretty like
Careful
what I click on, right?
Yeah.
So I see the article and I see the thing, and I'm like, oh, that's clearly clickbait and blah blah. And I'm clicking on stuff, everything from like, Kardashians to Justin Bieber, and then I'll move over to the politics, and then I'll move over to the economy and statistics. So really, like, I'm pretty sure pretty sure the AI that's running the algorithm on my phone's like, man, this guy's he's fucked. He's all over the place, right? So I'm pretty conscious of that. But now I'm starting to find it doesn't matter what section I'm looking at now, whether it's weekly entertainment, whether it's pop culture, whether it's politics, economy, whatever. It just doesn't seem like there's anything really like great, like positive. and I'm like, all right, like, okay, so this, like, oh, we lost, I mean, this is kind of news happened yesterday, but we lost, is it
James Caan?
James Caan.
Yeah,
like that's kind of, and it was wild because I don't think if you told me, hey, we lost James Caan, I'd know who that was. And then I saw his face, and I'm like, oh,
he's
man,
everywhere.
That guy's everywhere.
He's been in everything.
And then so I was just going through his filmography, and I was just like, man, alive, like this guy was in some like
The Godfather.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is an iconic dude.
Yeah.
Like, and so and I've run into that a few times actually where like you'll mention actors that have passed on. And until I see their face, I'm not really 100% sure who they are. And then you start going through and you're just like, geez, I've seen that movie. I remember him in that. I remember her in this. I remember her in that. And you're going, man, like this was a awesome person. Like, and then you read a little bit more about them, and I guess it's kind of a shame because we get caught up in like the political bullshit of Hollywood and stuff like that until they pass, then you go and read about their past accomplishments, not just in film but even just like their philanthropy work and like other things that they're involved in. You're like, man, like this person was awesome.
Yeah.
And like I wish I'd taken a little bit more time when they were alive to understand who they were.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that's kind of a neat well, it really shows the disconnect that we have to Hollywood.
Yeah.
And what those people really go through.
Yeah.
Not to harp on Joe Rogan because I think pretty much everybody knows already that I like Joe Rogan, but he said this thing about when he left LA to go to Texas and just how like the rat race is in LA and like the self validation that actors go through, right? Like where they're just fighting for these roles, and if they don't get it, then it's like, and then they're on a show in a role, and then they'll be cursing somebody else that got it. It's like, man, like you got a show, you got a role. Like who cares if they got a bigger one than you? Like they're just in a different. But there's just this whole weird dynamic, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think people really respect the fact that like the shit that those guys go through just to get the role.
Yeah.
Then they have to do the job, and then they got to go through shit all over again of being criticized for the job that they did.
Yeah.
It's not tough. No, I don't think that job is as glamorous.
No,
as
I don't.
make it out to be.
I like the same goes with like rock, like with musicians, right?
Yeah.
You know, with stars, like, and that's it goes. Yeah, I mean, it goes back to like the disconnect with the average person, where it's like, most people, if you said, guess what, you're the CEO of Tesla now. We're going to pay you $80 million a year, but you're the CEO of Tesla. They couldn't even do it.
No.
Even if you gave it to them.
And all the public sees is $80 million a year. It's like,
fuck that
do
guy.
you realize
It's
how
like,
much of that guy's life he has to give up, or
like,
girl's life that that they have to give up to freaking do this?
And I don't think, and you know, and having, you know, when I was touring with my band, you know, we had you just had a taste. Just a taste, you know, just a little taste. Like you're talking about, sometimes we play in front of 5 people, sometimes we play in front of 500, right?
Yeah.
Everything in between, you know, but you haul that gear, you set that shit up, you sound check, you screw around for 6 hours.
Yeah.
You might have a radio interview that you had to do at like 5 a.m.
Right. And you still have to drive there.
And then you drove
like
there.
Wherever the hell that
buttfuck nowhere, right? And like, and you had to play your heart out.
Mm-hmm.
Then you would go to the merch table and you'd hang out for another 2 hours or 1 hour, and you'd have to, you know, and granted, like, you know, I mean, it was cool. One of the coolest things, which I can't even describe, is like, you know, I went to another province, another city, and somebody who I don't know was like, oh my God, I like that. I love that song, or I knew the lyrics, or like whatever.
Yeah.
And you talk to them and you're on, like, you're like, and then it's 2 a.m. You have to tear your shit down, pile it into the van.
Yeah, no roadies at that level.
Right. And then you sleep, or you sleep in the van, or you sleep, sometimes you get a hotel room, or sometimes one of the people in the town let you sleep on their couch or whatever. And then you do it literally, it's a microcosm, and then you do it you have the same day,
yeah, man,
but again, and then again and again. And then I was thinking, like, fuck, the only difference would be the roadies.
Yeah,
like, even if you were, you know, even if you're the pinnacle, like, you know, even if you're any of those artists, if you're Lady Gaga, it's like, you're literally, it's the only difference is somebody's hauling your shit.
Pretty much.
But everything else is the same. So you could give people that life, they wouldn't even want to do it.
No. And I kind of get, like, if you really like look into the lives of some of these people, you kind of get the drug route and the alcohol route.
1,000%.
Like,
1,000%.
like there would definitely be a need to escape it and shut off or disconnect. So I kind of I don't condone it, but I get it.
Yeah.
Like, I get why that's the route that they go. And then there's also something that which comes with the money. When you've got that much money and you can do anything and whatever, there's only so many things that you want to do. Like, most people want to do, right? Like, unless you're insanely adventurous, where you're like, when we go to that place, I'll go jump out of a plane and get my high off that.
Yeah.
But that's not a lot of people. And,
well,
and a lot of those musicians aren't like that.
No, and you have, and the actors and the musicians, you know, you have an entire ecosystem below you that's dependent on you for their survival.
Yeah.
So you're not going to find, no one's going to tell you no. Around you, you know, like at all. Why would they?
Yeah.
It's, you know, whatever, Johnny, we'll get it for you.
Yeah.
You know, whatever.
I'm interested in seeing that the new Elvis movie.
Yeah.
I kind of want to check that out.
You know what I noticed? And tell me if I'm wrong. So Daniel Craig, right? He was a clown. He was like a bit of a dork. And he became James Bond, and he acts like James Bond now.
Right.
He dresses like James Bond, talks like James Bond, acts like James Bond. Robert Downey Jr. was Tony Stark. He was also a little bit of a clown. He became Tony now, and then he's Tony Stark now.
Yeah.
Dresses like Tony Stark, talks like Tony Stark. So it's like, this guy now, he's a talented young actor, but it's like, I watch him in interviews. He's Elvis now. He's talking like
I watched an interview with him last night. And
he's talking like Elvis.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
You know, it's so weird. Like, what is that?
It is interesting. So I when I was watching the downfall, you know, of Charlie Sheen, when he was playing 2.5 Men, Charlie from 2.5 Men, I was like, I always question that, because I'd see stuff off camera with him, and I'm like, is that Charlie Sheen acting like Charlie from 2.5 Men, or is that Charlie from Two and a Half Men acting like
Yeah.
Charlie Sheen?
Yeah.
Because like they're like, I didn't feel like Charlie Sheen had to do much
Yeah. Right.
different outside
Yes.
of his normal life to be
That
Charlie
guy.
from Two and a Half
Yeah.
Men, because he was a drinker, he was a smoker,
Yeah.
and he was a womanizer and
Yeah.
all over the chicks, right? So I was really like, yeah, I don't. And so then when he went off the deep rails, I was like, I thought he was already off. I thought he was already off the
You're
rails.
like, well, that's about time.
How did he
That
get
was inevitable.
off the rails, off the
Yeah.
rails? Like, yeah, so, such a wild. It is interesting to see actors, and I get it. I get it. Like, Jim Carrey, going through his history when he did Man on the Moon,
Yeah, I remember. There's a really good. I think there's a
Documentary
really
on
good
that.
documentary on. Yeah.
and like
Oh,
how insanely into that character.
He said he had like psychotic episodes because he lost. He like couldn't
He didn't even know who he was.
knew he was. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Andy Kaufman's family started hanging out with them because they're like, oh, it's like
He was
he's
so much.
because he's like it's like
Yeah.
talking to my dad or it's like talking to
Yeah.
my brother or whatever.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Like that is
Yeah.
wild. I
Yeah.
also watched the Val Kilmer when he got into when he played from the Doors.
Jim Morrison.
Jim Morrison.
Yeah. And
And
he was so
He
deep.
went nuts
Yeah.
into that role.
Yeah.
Like a whole year, all he listened to was the Doors.
Yeah.
24/7. He'd go to sleep to it.
Yeah.
And I guess his wife at the time was just like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I'm done. And then he had finished the Doors and he was working on, is it Island of Dr.
Moreau.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Moreau. And he was working on that and his wife and like on an island in the middle of nowhere.
Apparently that shoot was all, there's a few good YouTube documentaries
Yeah.
on Island of Dr. Moreau. Apparently it was like hell on earth. Like it was a
hell.
disaster.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Val in the Val Kilmer documentary,
Yeah.
he's just like it was just
Yeah. And then
a
Marlon
nightmare.
Brando was also off the deep, had already kind of
everybody
gone.
was off the deep
Yeah.
end. And like I mean, they
Yeah.
were stuck on an island for like 30 days and like
Yeah.
separated from society. And somebody boated the divorce papers to Val on
Wow,
that island. So he's like, I'm going through like this shit. It's like it was raining.
Yeah.
It's like
There's
tropical
malaria.
island,
Yeah.
like
yeah.
everything. And it's
It was like everything.
so
Yeah,
like
they
when
were
I go
sick.
like, yeah, I don't think that the movies is the boat ride that everybody
No.
thinks it is. It is not. It is not the Caribbean cruise. It is a stormy
yeah.
roll.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I loved that documentary too. This is Val. What a wild. And then to get to the end and find out like you think it's not him talking the entire. It's his son.
Yeah.
That sounds like
Dead on
oh
like him.
my, like so like
Yeah.
dead on like him. So that was a really cool. I love those kinds of things, like
Yeah.
just to get behind the scenes. You know, like you and I were talking about Top Gun and just
Yeah.
how like redonkulously epic this movie is. And the same thing. There's a 10-minute behind the scenes, and they just go through like how all those actors they were in control of their own cameras. When they went up in the air, they would like basically tell themselves, "Ready, action,
Yeah.
cut." And they did, and then they would get down to the bottom. They dump the footage, and the director would be like, "That's perfect, but let's do it again. Except this time, do it this way." They go back up for an hour,
Yeah.
do their thing, come back down. Like what a wild, and then just how crazy Tom Cruise is into making everything crazy amazing. You
And
know?
I always say, like say what you want about Scientology, but like it's working for him.
It's working.
Like
for
it's
him.
working. Like what is that? Like what is he?
Well,
he's-
and it's insane because the amount of power and effort he puts into movies. I mean, I'm assuming he does that same thing into Scientology, but you don't hear about it.
Well, you do. Well,
I mean, we all know
yeah.
he's into
Yeah.
he's a Scientologist
Well,
or into Scientology, but we don't like. It's not like he doesn't push that, but like he's not out preaching it. Oops.
Well,
Is
he
he?
kind of is.
I mean,
think.
I haven't seen him
He
be
kind of
like.
well, I guess yeah, he's toned it down, but for a while, you know, he had some pretty public run-ins.
I think he would
with
have.
reporters
Yeah.
and stuff about it. So I mean, it's a weird. I mean, I don't know. That's a whole other.
That's a
that's a
whole
whole. You could do a whole
conversation.
podcast.
I know,
on,
right?
Well,
Yeah.
and Leah Remini has right. But,
Yeah. And I don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
I've never paid enough attention to it.
It is interesting. You should actually look into it because there's Going Clear is the name of the doc. And again, another documentary. it's awesome. Like it's just so
And that's
interest.
about
It's about
Scientology?
Scientology.
Oh, wow.
And like it's so weird and
Going
it's so
clear?
going clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's the state of like there being. If you're clear, so messed up. Like that's when you're like at your peak mental physical function.
Right.
Is if you're clear, because you're clear of like these bad, like it's essentially like so apparently it's like cognitive behavioral therapy. So essentially what they do is they hook you up to a cheap lie detector,
Okay.
right? Like instead of it being like taking 5 data points, it takes 2.
Okay.
It just takes your it takes your electro, like your impulses from, you hold 2 cans, like two
Oh, okay.
steel things.
Right.
So it just takes the one going basically this way.
Gotcha.
And then they literally, it's basically psychotherapy.
Yeah.
So they like talk to you and they like watch, they call it auditing, and they like watch when they say, let's just say, I'll be like, hey, tell me about your dad. How's your dad, to you growing up? And if the needle's like fucking like ripping, then you're like, oh, okay. So there's like some
There's
trauma.
a sensitive point
There's
there,
a sensitive point there. So they're literally, and then they like delve into it. And then what they do is you do these sessions, and as you're, so then maybe 6 months later and like, $30,000 later, I'll be like, so let's talk about your dad, and the needle won't move. And you'll have been like, that's sort of like that, but they call it like going clear because you're like literally like clearing yourself of that shit.
Right.
The weird shit is that what that is, that trauma is apparently an alien race that was destroyed, and their spirits are now in you, causing that shit.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So you're trying to like clear them out.
Well, I
Yeah.
know
So
like,
it's like-
like
so there's
some
some
of the
weird
people they've
shit.
interviewed is like the questions are like damning. Like they ask you, they get you to be honest.
Yeah.
They film it all.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So
And then
they
were saying
record
they were
and film
using
everything.
that as like
Yeah.
blackmail.
That's right. That's like
on
the dark
people
side of
where
it.
you follow us or else
Yeah.
we'll release all this stuff
Right.
about what you've
Because
said.
you've got years and years of audits of
Yeah.
them talking about your shit.
Yeah.
And they
Bad stuff
recorded it
they've
all.
done or
Right.
whatever.
And
Like, yeah.
the funny thing is, and what they say is that it is kind of like the bait and switch, because for a lot of people, if you go there for a couple months, you're gonna feel awesome,
right.
because
You're getting all this shit
you
off
are
your
getting your
chest,
shit
off your
Yeah,
mind.
like it is.
Yeah, it's like
you
you
know?
should just go see an actual
Yeah,
therapist,
right.
a psychologist,
Yeah.
or get
So,
a really
but
good
but it's
buddy.
very cognitive behavioral therapy. So they literally unwrap what you're feeling,
right.
Discuss it, and then they like eventually you get through it, which is great. But then it gets weird, like,
Yeah.
and then once they got you, then it's a whole other thing, right?
And the guy that created Scientology,
L. Ron Hubbard,
yeah, L. Ron Hubbard,
he's a science fiction writer,
right?
and a pretty
did
poor
he have
one.
Did he have any kind of like
No.
psychology
No.
degree or
No.
any kind of like nothing? Eh?
No.
I messed
But he did
up.
another. Before he started Scientology, he did a film, a book called Dianetics,
Okay.
which was sort of the cognitive behavioral therapy portion of Scientology
Yeah.
on its own, as just like a mental health book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you would same thing. You would buy the package, and the package would come with the machine.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
This is interesting. But so, in a way, if you just do that and then
Yeah.
just don't go to the facility,
Yeah.
maybe that's the way. But it's working for Tom Cruise because the guy looks like $1 million.
I know the dude's like de-aging. Well,
like-
not quite, but
But and you can tell, like, I mean, he's older, like in Maverick.
Well, and he's
like,
put his body through hell. Like,
That's
like
exactly
he does
it.
his own stunts. Like when he in Bond or not Bond,
Mission
Mission
Impossible,
Impossible,
yeah.
when he jumps off that roof and snaps his leg in half.
yeah.
That's intense. I watched that like 6 times. I was like, God, that's a really
Well,
bad break.
And you can see in like Mission Impossible 1, 2, and some of his other movies, like he's not a built guy.
No.
And
He's
just
in
the way
shape,
he's
but
in
he's-
shape, but even the way his body type is, you
Yeah.
can tell it doesn't carry. He never has that hero V.
Yeah.
He never has the pecs. Like he's sort of got this sort of a
Yeah.
more. He's in really good shape.
Natural.
But it's sort of
Like,
a natural
it's
body.
like that's a
Yeah.
believable guy that
Yes,
just
yeah.
like plays racquetball on the weekends.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, like if he's
like-
he's your friend that he's calling you, you want to go rock climbing, man?
Exactly,
And you're like,
yeah.
fuck, man.
It's like
I got a life. It's
you
like
got so much energy, man. Like, yeah.
That's the problem though, is that you would also like he would just, man, if he was my friend, I would be in Scientology. That's the problem.
That's
like guaranteed. Guaranteed.
Yeah,
He'd just be like, Nick, what are you up to, man? And I'd be like, you want to go pick up, I want to hop on my jet. I got to go pick up my motorcycle in Italy. And you're like, I'm going.
Yeah, it's like,
Fuck it, I'm dropping everything.
I don't
I'm going.
care how crazy.
It's like,
I don't care what you're into. I'm in.
I'm in. Hey, we're going to go I got into, have you ever been in a drag car before? Like, I've been into drag racing the last couple months. And you're like, okay.
Done.
Let's
when
go.
you got the money that guy's got,
Yeah.
it's like,
whatever the next thing is.
Whatever.
And then in Maverick too, like you get this sense, you have to see, you get this sense of like, there's all these cool pieces of machinery. Like, there's like a classic air cooled Porsche 911. There's like a P-51 Mustang. There's a couple of trainers. There's like motorcycles, and you just get the vibe that Tom Cruise like, hold up, I got all this shit. Like, it's like, what do we need? I have it. I'll just bring it. I'll bring it tomorrow.
What set piece do you need? Yeah,
I'll bring it tomorrow. I got one.
We need a $9 million jet. I got that in the hangar at my other place.
Why not fly it in tomorrow?
Yeah. Well, we can put it in the background for that
exactly.
shot. Sure.
Like, you just get the feeling that it's all his stuff.
Yeah, it's just like Top Gun's actually a movie about his life. It's not. It's got nothing to do about
good.
Man,
so good.
I got a funny off the rails topic. You ever wonder what's happened to all those guys that preached end of the world stuff back in like 2012 or 2000 that wrote the books? Like
2000. There was 99, 2000, 2012 was the Mayan calendar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like and the crazy thing is those guys sold like redonkulous amounts of books. And why am I buying this book if the world's going to end? First off, I want to question those people.
Yeah.
But then then you're wrong. So it's like you wrote this book, you made a good chunk of cash off of naive people, unfortunately, and then you were wrong. And then what? Did you write the next one too, or like where did you go? Like, did you make enough money where like, peace out? Like, I'm done for the rest of my life. I got my cash. I'm out. I'm always like, and I have to look into some of those people that have written those books. Like, where are they now, kind of thing. But yeah, like that's always like, we were talking about that in the truck the other day driving around. I'm like, like wouldn't that be embarrassing? Like, where you're like, I preached the end of the world. I had a whole bunch of people believing me, and then I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think those people, I don't know. I think it's like evangelists. Like, I think it's just the thing where it's like, hey, it's just a business, man. Like, and if I can make a buck and move on to the next thing.
It's so weird to make a business off of like people's.
Dude, it's crazy what
business isn't emotional, but yeah.
Yeah. And people make businesses out of nothing.
Yeah.
Like, there's entire businesses that recycle information.
Yeah.
Like, they literally just take it, package it with a new like digital cover.
Yeah.
And then you have your Amazon book.
Yeah.
And then you have like your digital book.
Yeah.
And then you do a little bit of social media and act like you know what you're talking about, and then it just sells. Like, it's just, and you've done nothing.
I've seen that, like, there's a couple of YouTube channels, blows my mind, and all the guy does is just, he points the camera at himself and he just reads the news.
Yeah.
And gajillions of hits, and he just reads the news. And it's like nothing exciting, he doesn't even comment on it, he just reads it.
Yeah. Doesn't even put his own 2 cents.
Doesn't even put his own 2 cents in, just reads it, and people are just like, click, 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 click,
Yeah.
like, what?
Because
Like,
it's just
what?
so much like, so much of it is out there.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you're the amount of people consuming content like that is just so crazy. There's a market. There's somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, it's pretty wild.
It is wild. Like the whole ecosystem is crazy.
I will say that it feels more end of the worldy now than it has. Because that's the thing too. Like, in 1999 and in 2012, I just didn't feel like it.
Yeah.
Like, they would kind of say, well, look at all these natural disasters. Look at all these wars. Look at all these. But then you really got the vibe that shit's always there. And it always has been there. And it always will be there.
Yeah.
Where just the information travels so much more efficiently now that you get it to your phone.
Exactly.
You know exactly all the 9 horrible things that happened today in the world. You just get it all at once.
Yeah.
But
and it's top news. And if you're a habit of clicking on that stuff, all of a sudden that is all you get because of those algorithms, right?
But lately it feels more real in the sense of like, things are fucked up.
But you know, like when you and I started this 4thGen, like we're only like what 28 episodes in or something like that, but we started it like 2 years ago.
That's right. That's correct.
I remember when we started talking then, I was like, I'm so confused. I have no idea what's going on. I've never felt more uncertain in my life than ever at that time 2 years ago. I don't like that. I still I feel worse today than I did 2 years ago. Like this is therapy for me, but 2 years ago I was like, man, I don't think the world's going to be here tomorrow. And then today I'm like, dude, I don't think the world's going to be here tomorrow.
But luckily it's been 2 years.
But it's still here.
So that's pretty good.
I mean, just everything with a plague, with a war, economy, they're talking recession. I get like Boris Johnson stepped down.
At some point you're just like, what am I doing? Well, why do I need this shit for?
What? Yeah, like what am I?
I get him. I get Boris. It's like,
I get
you know
him
what?
Too. I'm like,
you know what?
I don't know how you've lasted
this long. Yeah.
I don't know how. Like you have to be, and we've talked about this before. You have to be a special person, or have an insane type of support group around you to do a presidential job of a country, because you are fired at every single day through the media, obviously, socials, up and down. You're an asshole or you're the hero.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and then on top of that, you are worried about getting actually fired on by the people that think you're an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And then like you're on that world stage, and every single thing from scratching your face to you know anything is critiqued and criticized and whatnot. Like that's the one thing about I'm gonna go into Trudeau. That's the one thing about Trudeau. His face is just like it just washes over him. Like I haven't really seen a physical change. Like, you look at Obama.
Yeah, and it
his
looks
hair
like
went freaking white in the first 4 years.
Even Biden, like from when he was on the campaign trail, although he didn't really have a campaign trail, he was in his basement.
Yeah,
but even from then to now, he's
like he looks like 150.
Yeah, you're watching him like
he's
die a slow death.
He went in at 70, whatever, and he looks like 150.
But you're right.
Now.
I think I think, and it's not a comforting answer.
No.
But I think Trudeau has a special kind of narcissism that he's so self-obsessed
I think so too.
that it literally doesn't faze him.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. If you like
but that would be the only way you could survive what happens.
Yeah.
Like you'd have to be oblivious to
But I think he is. Like I think he
lives in a world
doofus.
that everything is
that's right. And he's so protected and everybody's so and there's other people making decisions and he's just
along for the ride.
You know, like he doesn't answer any questions. He doesn't say anything new. He's just this fucking guy. Like, I mean, what else can you say?
Just a post.
Like he's just, you know, and then like it's almost like I always said, fuck, like if I could talk to him for 5 minutes, I would want to sit down and I just want to be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what do you think?
Well, what is the world to you?
Yeah, like, what are you? So I'm just, he's like, I'm going to just ask you, I'm going to name 3 things you've done. Yeah. And I just want you to talk me through, seriously,
your thought process.
What you were thinking. Like,
but you won't get an answer.
Yeah, I know, but you won't even get an answer. Like now, like that's exactly it. Now I think like you would just be, I don't know. It's just so, he's probably by a long shot, and I'm including a lot of like horrible human beings, the most infuriating politician at least in my lifetime, like that I've been following politics.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's
I would 100% agree.
You know, because even Biden, it's like Biden is just a dead man who's been in the system for 50 years, and he's just the product of being in that system for 50 years and it being your whole life, and him just being way too fucking old.
Yeah.
But I don't think a personal problem with him where it's like, do I think he gets up in the morning and he's like, how am I going to screw over the American people today? He doesn't know. He's just in the wrong place at the wrong time in his life. Right?
Yeah.
That's all that was. And he was just like, the Never Trumpers got him in. Like it was just, he's the best option. They weren't going to go with any of those other lunatics because it was a lunatic show. Like it was it was like literally a circus, their primary, like to find out who the Democrats were going to run with. So he was just they thought like, we'll just use a dead man because
we just need a body.
We just need a body.
We need a body there to just get us through the next 4 years.
Right.
Because we have been dealing with chaos with the last 4 years.
And because
we haven't even been able to plan for the future.
Yes.
We just need somebody in there that's not going to burn the shit down.
And because
figure out the next
and
move,
these 9 other people who are trying to run, they've all got something about them that may make them lose.
Yeah.
So we need somebody who's like just
a
warm body.
Has anybody stepped forward yet?
Oh, it's looking bad. They don't have
anybody.
Right? But he's going to die. Like, that's the thing. It's like he doesn't have another 6 years in him, I don't think.
He just would die when he fell off that bike there a couple weeks ago.
Like,
Poor guy.
And
Poor
then
guy.
Trump.
I honestly think, like, he's like a nice man.
That's
like,
what
I actually think, like, Biden is a nice man.
Well, he's your standard
Because when he fell off the bike and he got up and he's like, dang, damn it. You know, like, and they're just like, I don't know, like.
And just the way he's like, come on, man. The way he says it, you know what I mean? You think, the way he talks, like, it's just so weird.
Yeah.
But,
you're just a dude that's
he's just a
dude.
He's just a dude.
But I think, like, yeah, like he's probably one of the more sorry, I got stuff in my throat. But he's one of those, like, he just wants, I think he genuinely wants things to be good.
Yeah.
Like, I get from him that he doesn't have an agenda other than, like, I just want shit to
he's
work.
like, he's not some of those other lunatics that have like an actual, I want the country to fundamentally change in some way.
Right.
Like when you have the squad, like the Ian Omars of the Democratic Party, they're filled with lunatics who they're like, they want to like burn it all down and build something new.
Right.
And it's like, so but also that's his weakness where he's like, he's just a product of the 50 years in Congress and just kind of like not.
Well, there is no answer to trying to please everybody.
Yeah, no.
Like, you just won't. And I feel like sometimes when I watch him speak or I listen to some of his stuff, it's like you're trying to please everybody, but it's actually pissing everybody off even more because you being on the fence on topics.
Yeah.
It doesn't help either side, so it pisses everybody off. You have to pick a side. And you either politically have to pick the side that is less damning.
Yeah.
Or you have to pick the side that you ethically, personally believe is the right choice. Yeah. And like on the abortion thing, right? That whole, holy moly, like that has exploded. And it's like, I feel like since this whole abortion thing has come forward recently, because it's always been
always been there. Yeah.
But it's kind of gotten like an extra like push forward in the last, since the Roe versus again, I'm ignorant to it. Now it looks like they're stepping backwards. Like,
well, they personally,
because it's brought up more questions and more chaos than what it was, I think, first intentionally meant to do.
I think the conservative states it was gonna be what it was gonna be.
Yeah.
And I think the liberal states, it was gonna be what it was gonna be. Like, I think, I think there's also, just because of the whole, I don't want to get into it too much, but it's just because the whole, it's a very emotional topic, right? Obviously. Because of that, I think people don't actually sit down and step back and say, okay, really, what does this mean to me, right? And I think what they would realize is that if you're in a place where, like, all it did was just basically the court just confirmed that the Constitution doesn't say anything about it.
Well,
that's really what it is.
Because, I mean, was it really a thing when the Constitution was written?
No, and the reason why is because when the Constitution was written, you would be an absolute lunatic because you needed to have 4 babies to make sure that one made it.
Right.
That's just
right.
So why would they wouldn't even, you know what I mean? They were like, we don't have enough people. Never mind. It's not even
and they were populating a continent at the time.
They had an empty continent to deal with.
It wasn't overpopulated as of yet, and it didn't have the problems that it does today. It's so weird. I remember, I'm trying to remember who the comedian was that said this, but it's like if the team that wrote the Constitution came forward today, like showed up on Earth today, and they looked around, they're like, wait a minute, you guys didn't write new shit?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, man, like the world, like, I get how the Constitution and the lawmakers are in place now to amend to the changing times, but I think it's still like insanely far
But I
behind.
think, yes and no, because I don't know. It's a tough.
It is a tough one.
Because you also can't throw the baby out with the bathwater in the sense of like saying, but there's something fundamentally.
That wasn't an abortion topic comment.
Gross,
that was
no.
It was it was you're making a reference.
I'm making a reference to it's a
that's a bad reference.
Yeah, well,
I want to know where that saying came from.
Yeah, actually, I find it very interesting. I'll look into it.
I'll
tell you next
sayings,
time.
Yeah,
I love finding out where those sayings come
well,
from.
like when you told me the story about the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. Then I had to Google it, and I'm like, oh, I'll be damned. Like, that is what it is.
You didn't make that shit up.
Shit, that is awesome. Like, yeah, but anyway.
But you need to be careful about changing the fundamental things about the country.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, whatever it was they built, whatever they put together, whatever that document laid out, for the most part, was pretty perfect. Even the Canadian charter isn't as good.
Right.
Ours has some serious problems. Like ours doesn't guarantee free speech. Ours, we don't have term limits for the prime minister. If the prime minister controls, if a party has a majority,
they run the shit.
They run the shit.
It's almost almost
it becomes like a
not democracy, dictatorship.
Yeah, it is. Like it is. Like if you have the wrong person, which we've discovered, if you have the wrong person at the wrong time, with enough votes. You've got a real big problem in Canada. Yeah. In the US, it's just simply they designed it so perfectly that when you look at over the course of 100 years, even if you go like 1900 to 2022, at the end of the day, the standard of living, the amount of freedom people have, the amount of money people have, the amount of health, like the amount of access to health, to everything, it's been a nice like it just gets better every and there's something to be said for like
true.
We wrote something in the 1800s and it's guided a country right to today. Yeah. So it's like
it's just fitting in these new things that didn't exist back then.
Yeah. But that's also
and that's going to come with population growth. That's going to come with it, even just like foreign countries or foreigners coming into your country, bringing their ideas.
Yeah, but the U.S. is different because the U.S. has that magic ability. Right. It's like when and that's it's going to bite them in the ass. The Democrats, it's going to bite them because they've been using the immigrants as like sort of like as a weapon, like as a crutch, right?
Right.
But it's going to bite them because they forget like the U.S. is still the most immigrated to country.
Right.
On Earth.
Yeah.
And so if I'm in Venezuela or Mexico or Romania or anywhere and I come there.
Yeah.
Fuck. We should move to Florida. We're moving to Florida.
Texas. We're going to Texas.
They're like, I want to be an American.
Yeah.
It's not like in Canada where it's like I'm from and that's also a great strength of ours too, which is awesome. But it's like, I come in from India. I'm an Indian. I'm in Canada, but like I'm an Indian, right? And there's things I like about Canada, and I'm here, but my culture, you know what I mean? Like I'm not Canadian. Like that's kind of like that feeling.
Yeah,
it's more of a melting. It's less of a melting pot, whereas the U.S. is like, if you have somebody living in the U.S. for 20 years, like damn it, I'm an American. Like there's that sort of monolithic feel to it.
It's like the business model, right? Like when you write a business plan, you come up with like that tagline of like what your core values are and stuff like that. America, I feel, finds like they follow that shit to the T.
Yeah.
Right. And that's their constitution where it's like, if you can be anyone from anywhere of any gender, of any self-identification, whatever you want, you come here, you work hard, you will make
the American dream exists. Like it does. Like it exists. And
I feel here in Canada, we don't really have a definition still.
No, we don't.
We really do feel, I can't speak for everybody, but I feel scattered. One thing that blew my mind, so my wife's swore in as a Canadian citizen officially, like a month ago, right? Yeah. And so, it was all Zoom, virtual. We're sitting there. She gets a picture with like the judge that, does the thing. And whatnot. And like my wife was like, it was emotional.
Yeah,
because it was
totally.
like and
it's so
even,
such a long time coming.
it's such a long time coming. And I think like that's part of the amplification is that it took 10 years
Yeah.
for it to happen.
Yeah.
And so there was this alleviation of frustration, right? Which is not the reason to feel emotional at that time.
Yeah.
Not because, the alleviation of frustration's gone now. I've just finally finished this stupid thing.
Yeah.
That's not the way you should feel when you swear in as a Canadian citizen.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's what she felt, but I think it was just when they started playing O Canada and she had, and like she broke down and it was like, whoa, like this is heavy. And for those people that come from like countries like Syria or China where they're oppressed so bad, and they finally get to that point of like, you're here, you're a Canadian now.
Yeah.
I feel horrible because in the sense that I don't
you don't know what that feels like.
I don't know what that feels like.
Yeah.
But I also don't feel like for my wife, I've represented Canada very well in the sense that, because I don't know what Canada sometimes is.
Mm-hmm.
And you can call it politics. You can call it it's mainly because of politics that I feel that way. Because I really don't feel like our leaders are, I'm not sure what I'm proud of. I'm like, I get that we're free, and maybe it's because I'm ignorant and arrogant because I was born here and like this stuff was handed to me on a silver platter. That might be it. That might be why I feel the way I do, because I don't understand hardships. I mean, I can look at other people and be like, man, like that, you are going through hell. I can't even imagine what you're going through. But it's still like, I've never experienced it, so I don't.
Yeah.
It's kind of like racism and stuff like that. When you start talking, it's like I can listen to somebody talking about it and sympathize with them and understand, like, yeah, that's not right. And that's not, but I've never experienced it, so I don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
I can say I know, but I really don't know. I don't, and so feeling like I don't know what our country is and what we represent anymore. And I still feel like we represent freedom. And I don't know why I feel that way. Like, and it's like, maybe I'm nuts. I don't know. Like,
I think
I don't like feeling this way. I don't like feeling like I don't really like know what
I know. Well, I agree.
For.
And for the longest time, like as soon as I was able to vote, like I voted Liberal as soon as I was 18, right?
Yeah.
And I loved, like, I was like, Canada's the greatest country in the world. Canada's the greatest country in the world, and the Liberals are the best party in the world. Like in the sense, like they were so even.
Yeah.
So like, like in Canada, liberal is like it's a very different word in Canada for a long time compared to everywhere else in the world, where you were more, it was more like you were just the reasonable people. You were just the people who were like, yeah, let's hang on. Everybody can do what they want. We got social programs, we're well liked in the international community. We're good with money. It was it was just like kind of like that nice sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in the last while, like it drifts, and now you're like, no, Canada's not. Now it's like I don't feel like it's the greatest country in the world anymore. In so many, in comparison to our potential. Like in comparison to like.
And so now a question for you on that. Do you not feel that way because of like how we are representing ourselves, or because of like facts? So when I say that, because I still think Canada is the greatest country in the world in the sense of like resources, lifestyle, and all that stuff. But I don't feel like Canada is the greatest country in the world when it comes to being a leader and for the right reasons and going in the right direction. Like it's not, I don't feel like we're pushing humanity, the species forward.
Well,
I don't feel like we have a part on that stage anymore.
I don't know. I feel like when you talk, like I feel like when you talk about our resources, they don't want to use our resources anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The current establishment,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You talk like, to me, I feel like it needs to be a place where your potential, I just want it to be a place where like I feel like there's no limit to what I can kind of achieve, in the sense of,
and you're not held back,
and I'm not, I guess
I feel held back.
I feel held back. That's exactly right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like I can push to do the things that
Yeah.
I feel are important
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
world.
Like I feel like, and it's such a small thing, but
Mhm.
but it just kind of encapsulates it.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there was a tech mine project up north,
Okay.
right? The company tech, right?
Yeah.
And they had put billions of dollars into like doing the environmental impact reports and, blah, 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 and proposals and and it's like, and then the federal government was just like, nah, no, we're pulling your permit.
Right.
No, we're not doing it anymore with that Bill C, whatever the fuck it was,
Yeah,
with the no more pipelines or
Yeah.
whatever. Now we're pulling it. And it's like, to me, as soon as a country does that, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, because you're not going to go anywhere. Like, we're going to be stagnating. So things are going to be like more expensive. Our lifestyles will be worse, and there'll be no prospect of it changing in the future.
Mhm.
Which sucks when you get up in the morning and you're just like, well, when really we should be like Singapore or Brunei. Like, we should borderline be like filthy rich.
Yeah.
Like what we have to offer the world, we should literally, there should be like, you're always going to have the top 1%, fine. And you're always going to have that bottom 1% that there's no helping them. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But that like big chunk in the middle, the 98% of people should be just living like large.
Yeah.
Like, there should be nothing but like prosperity. And I feel like we're not going that way. I feel like we're going the opposite way. And
like it really does feel like there's a ceiling.
Yeah.
For everybody. Like for man, women, whatever, there's a ceiling that like we hit, and there's a few holes that you can get through, but like we've made it impossible to get through.
Yeah.
And
the idea, like even our city council, like Michael Jans, that city councilor, like, we should tax houses over $1 million. Like, well, the average house is 800,000. So what are we taxing exactly? You're gonna tax basically
the middle class,
because
that's what $1 million is now. Right. Really, it's the middle
because
class,
they're so warped. And same with all of Trudeau's, all of their like help. Oh, you have to make less than $90,000 a year. It's like, well, that's only two people making 45,000. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
So you think those people are rich?
Yeah.
Like so you're just getting like
smashed.
Yeah. It's just like a nonstop, and like even, the idea and that feeling of like the city council is talking about, you have to get a permit to take a tree down on your property now because they don't, like they're trying to put that through. And it's like, what are you doing? Like,
well, and in my mind, I'm like, aren't there bigger problems?
Yeah, exactly.
Like whoever brought that forward is really disconnected from some of the other shit that's going on.
And same with the mansion tax. It's like, you guys are dumb. It's already a progressive tax. Like it's their property value is more, so they pay more.
Let's throw another.
It doesn't get any more progressive than that. Like, what do you want? Like, it's just like, so you just feel like you're constantly. Anyways, we got to stop. But
I know we got to go. I'm going to leave on this note really quickly. Yeah, I think it's the consistent lies that have been caught.
Yeah,
that is breaking my spirit.
Yeah,
and the consistent corruption that's just, it happened.
Yeah,
we know it happened. It's there.
There's so many things that one thing would have
from leaders.
Right. And
so
it's
and it's craziness. So you look at Trump, you look at Trudeau, you look at anybody around the world. You look at Putin right now, right?
Yeah.
These stories to try and justify what they're doing, or just wrongs that they've been caught, and they're not punished.
Yeah, there's no like.
It just gets and.
Well, it's like that SNL Lavalin thing with Trudeau, where it was the girl who got fired, who's a First Nations Indigenous woman who was appointed to the cabinet, she came out and said
she was in the right.
Yeah, and she literally said in front of like in Parliament, like, this guy did this. He asked me to do this. I said, that's illegal. I'm not doing it. He fired me.
Yeah. She was in the
right. And it's
right.
like, how can that not bring down a government?
Right.
Like, how
and so that is part of my just.
So it's like, if that can happen, then it's like, what are we doing? Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like stuff like that has opened a gate.
Right.
And now all of these leaders are going to start pushing that.
Yeah.
And it becomes, it's like gas prices. I will raise it 10 cents. and then we'll float it back and forth for a little while, but then we'll keep it at that 10
Yeah,
cent
it never
raise.
goes back. It's like it's
Never
going to be
goes back,
$2 forever.
and then we'll raise
yeah.
it the next 10 cents, and then the people will just get used to it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's happening in the world of accountability and honesty.
Yeah.
Is just like we'll
that ability to
we'll
just
tell a white lie here.
Yeah.
And then once it gets accepted, and then we talk about information just being shoveled down the chute so fast and so consistent that I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get shit for a week.
But then
the next thing's gonna come along from somebody else.
Yeah.
And I'll have
Skate
gotten
through
away
it.
with what I did. And then I'll do something else
Yeah.
in 10 months or 6 months. And then but because more and more information, that time frame of me being able to get away with shit between shit to shit to shit gets shorter and shorter and shorter. And then it's just like, wow, my whole thing is.
Yeah, when you can go have a press conference and you can read off of a pre-done thing, and it's literally the exact opposite of what's happening, and then everyone's like, "Well, what about this?" And you're like, "Oh," and then you just read it again.
Yeah,
and you're like, "Okay, well, that's it. Thanks, guys." And then you just walk off, and it's just nothing. Yeah, it's.
Anyway, sorry to be a negative downer.
Well, hey, it's Friday. There's that.
Friday. Like I said, it's a therapy session.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't want people to get disparaged that life is, garbage, but it's not, because it's not. It's not by any.
It's not garbage.
Any stretch of the imagination. It's not. I mean, we are so good. I just feel like we should be a lot further ahead if there were some things that were removed, obstacles removed out of our way. But anyway.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, thanks for
man. listening
to us rant.
It's a double drop because I think
double drop.
Yeah.
We'll do last week's or the week before's or whichever.
before's.
Yeah, and then we'll see you next week.
Right on.
Yeah, buddy.
Take it easy, man.
Later.